I would like to know what you think on what political performance or political activism can do in such a situation like we have it in nowadays, or how it could possibly intervene in this current situation.
I think that we are keeping alive a shapes and images of resistance, markings, symbols, little comedy bits. It is a time of powerlessness by progressive, left of center people. There's no left in America. We have the Bush and Clinton are both right wing, and there's no center and there's no left. It's an extremely difficult time, and the problem of hope itself is very much an issue for American progressive people. Hope itself. Savitri and I believe. Savitri, I've begun this interview. You can come and be a part of this anytime you want to, of course. Okay, well,
I'm sorry to
it's
say.
your decision. I think it's for other people to decide whether you're smart or not. Not you, not you.
Okay. Yeah, very important.
So Savitri and I often talk about that as a role. Tonight, certainly we had that role with these folks, trying to describe war tax resistance as important, as in fact not old-fashioned, because that's an accusation that they received, and trying to explain to them how in this era when the marriage of corporate marketing and right-wing Christianity has made this world of conservatism inside our dreams and inside our visions and inside our breathing, to encourage these people to think of war tax resistance as a good answer to the riddle of how you change the United States culture now. I think that was good. I think we gave them hope today. I think that was a major thing that took place. So we know things are in eclipse, but we always see now the hurricanes Rita and Katrina seem to be well, we hope. Are we making this up? Are we talking ourselves into this? We think of the hurricanes as possibly being a critical mass being reached, in which people might think in the United States that, oh, maybe my consuming, especially based on automobiles and gas and oil, maybe my consuming has some impact on the earth.
Well, I think they are certainly aware that something is very wrong, but I doubt that they're ready to say it's a result of climate change or consumerism. I mean, you can see it right now. They're blaming the government. They're blaming George Bush for being a bad president. They're blaming the war in Iraq. They're blaming all these things.
Who's blaming them?
American people.
Okay.
I mean, George Bush is a approval rating is below 40%. 67% of Americans today said they think America's headed in the wrong direction, which is the highest that number has ever been when they're asked that question. So clearly people feel that something is going terribly wrong, and I certainly hope we can at least help focus that towards consumption, towards consumerism and these larger issues, and not, once again, the 4-year presidential election cycle, which is a kind of opiate. I mean, just sort of keeps them all in this herded mentality. Every 4 years we become political, and then we have an election and it's over for 4 more years.
But also, I think it's really the problem is in the roots, because the whole economical system is based on consumerism
Yes.
and
Exactly.
consuming. Isn't it also the point that in America it's always this mentality, oh, my country, right or wrong? It's always my country. It's a bit
Yes,
not
I'm
very.
afraid so.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Yes.
Not very reflected.
No, well, we haven't had our asses kicked, in the right way. I mean, you think maybe Vietnam would have helped, but yeah, we just haven't been beaten down ever and learned humility in that way.
When you think about your activities or actions, whatever you name them, do you also think about what's the effect on the media? What kind of images you are creating with that, or is that the
Yes,
point?
that's a part of it. That's a part of it. We want to communicate beyond just our immediate real space. And I find that a certain number of people in the media community are extending our meaning and our imagery out to more people, so that we can reach much farther than we would ever be able to on our own. Isn't that true? We have a
Yes.
certain number of friends in the media who understand us.
Well, we have a really clear sense about grassroots media and what that means to us specifically. So when you talk about that connectivity between this group you saw tonight, this grassroots organization where it isn't a one-way communication, it's all lateral. So I talk to him and he talks to Susan, and Susan talks, it goes out
Like a
that way.
network, or what?
Yeah,
Like a,
exactly. And we start with that, and it's just talking and listening, and that's the most powerful kind of media there is, just talking and listening, right? And then after that, there are other waves of impact. And I think the photograph is still the most, in some ways, the most potent, strongest thing we have to. If you can send a photograph out into the world, even with no text or another set of meaning, it has so much power. So we definitely think a lot about framing inside of photographs and composing ourselves for a photograph. That Billy, and when he's in his costume, no matter what he's doing or what he's saying, that he is this one picture. And it's iconic and symbolic, and it goes out. So however it goes out, it is that powerful symbol. Wow, my brain just completely died. It's
That's a wonderful thing, honey.
Yeah, just. Sorry.
Our impression is Germany doesn't. Many Germans do not know the image of crazy right-wing preachers.
They think
Yeah.
of Elvis more. First, they think of Elvis. They see Billy.
They think they don't know what Reverend Billy is exactly. They think, oh, American. Elvis. They don't. Elvis with a preacher.
Yeah.
In London, they have a history of televangelists. In London, they know about right-wing. Jimmy Swaggart, Jerry Falwell, Pat Robertson types
But it's also different in Germany because Germany seems beyond religion. I mean, it's so post-religious in Germany that it's not. It's really great, actually, the way people are not offended about religion there. Here, you're always protecting people from offense. We do our show and someone says, "Well, how can you say amen? How dare you talk about Jesus like that?" And even though we never mention Jesus, or even though we only say good things about Jesus, or and you have to defend your right to not be Christian here. Where in Germany, it's
just very
people
regular
are
thing.
glad that you are religious.
So, and when you mention a thing like hope, or that it's important to give those people hope, like tonight, what is it that's giving you hope, maybe, or to go on with all that?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yes. Well, I think it's our privilege in a way. Gives us hope that we can do this. Gives us hope that we. Billy and I were both artists all our life, and then art became a vacuum, and the art world became a vacuum, and so I get hope from knowing I'm not in a vacuum, that I actually am talking to people who are engaged in a struggle, who want something outside of themselves. That same network, I think, is what gives me hope.
Maybe when the door might be slamming down there. I think I got hope tonight from the singers and from my sermon, and from of course, much of my sermon I didn't know what I would say. I thought about it. You could tell I was sort of spacey before the show. I was thinking about the sermon, but it was new to me as well. And so that gives me hope. Sometimes material coming up in a sermon will give me hope.
So
certainly the audience gave me hope. They were very good. Wonderful audience.
So maybe it's also about empowering oneself. Do you say so? Like the work itself is creating hope, maybe something like that.
Yes, the sermon itself, what rises up, gives me hope. The part of me that is hopeful.
But Billy's very hopeful. He's from the Midwest.
So it's always a question where you're from.
It is, yeah.
I'm from, where I'm from, I'm Dutch. Lots of Germans, lots of Scandinavians. Around Wisconsin and Minnesota. And we're cheerful.
Cheerful?
Good morning.
Smiling. Happy. We also get hope from the choir, actually, a lot of times. This community of people who you saw, maybe 8 of them, but there are 30 of them. And it's just an amazing group of people who choose to do this together and have this whole language in common and, quit their jobs to go on the road. And it's very inspiring. For no money and no...
Yes, I had a lady today, Chantal, who committed to being with us for 30 days. Wow. She said, I just have to replace myself at my business. I have to hire someone else to replace me at my business.
Well, you have to do the things you want to do.
I know. She just said, I believe in this. If you invite me, I will come.
And how's this Starbucks thing proceeding? You had a lawsuit with them, right? But this is already about a few years ago.
No, I've been convicted. I went to jail for 3 days, and I am banned from all the Starbucks in the world. And that's it. And in California, it's not just the Starbucks, but it's 750 feet from the edge of the Starbucks.
Oh, I see.
So there are areas of Los Angeles where I can't go through the neighborhood without becoming illegal because the Starbucks are closer to each other than 1,500 feet. They're closer than 1,500 feet, so I can't go between them. So I have to go around.
Do you have to pay something like a fee or?
We paid about $500 after we were convicted, and then I went to jail.
Plus, it's very expensive to have a trial because in California we have to fly there and fly back.
Yeah.
We had to fly there twice.
Rent a car, and then we have to. We lose jobs here because we aren't here, and then it really was more like
$2 or $3 grand. I don't know.
No, it was like $10,000 we spent.
Oh, really? The whole thing?
Yeah.
You put it at 10 grand?
Oh, I know. I can show you.
Oh
yeah,
my
it was
God.
very expensive, and this is how they keep people. They stop you because you can't afford to do that.
Can't afford to be in the.
No activist can stay in a trial.
Did you have to pay a lawyer or something like that?
Well, no, we had to pay the lawyer's expenses, so the lawyer didn't lose money. So we paid for their
airfare,
or their
hotel.
But no, I mean they gave their service for free. But even so, their dinner, their lunch, that kind of stuff.
Sure, that's expenses also, yeah. And if you do come too close to a Starbucks, what's happening then?
Well, it's the discretion of the police. So any kind of anything like that, it's trying to keep you out of trouble essentially. So it means that it's up to the police whether or not they bust him. I mean, Billy would not get in trouble if he walked into a Starbucks looking like this and ordered a coffee and sat down and drank it and left. He would get in trouble if
I was dressed up like Reverend Billy.
Or even if you just said something in there. But it's up to them. It just gives them all the power. As long as he doesn't go there, though, it's okay. I mean, we've been into many Starbucks since then. I often forget that we have the ban, actually. Don't you? You just forget about it. It's international, though.
So they say.
Well, this work of this project of Reverend Billy also made me think of those activities of the yippies, as I already written in the email. These people, have they been also a role model in creating?
Abby Hoffman. I created a introduction to the reprint of Revolution for the Hell of It, which is one of his books, which was republished. And Abby Hoffman's very much a role model.
Yes, a great hero to us.
Yes. And he lived on St. Mark's Place, and we perform at St. Mark's Church on St. Mark's Place.
But he said, never get arrested if you can help it. Abby Hoffman was he always said, don't get arrested unless they absolutely insist on arresting you.
And so we read the FBI tapes when he got arrested in Chicago during the Democratic National Convention. And it was very poignant because the plainclothes policeman talked about how he was shaking and how he had fuck written on his forehead. That's why they arrested him. They arrested him in a restaurant. And he didn't want to get arrested, but they... But then I'm sure he was glad later because he was a part of the Chicago 7, so he became a superstar of my generation.
Was that for that arrest?
I believe it was, yeah. Or no, actually the charges, possibly the charges for the Chicago 7, I believe, were more like racketeering and...
Right, conspiracy.
Conspiracy to destroy government property and... And I think maybe when he got arrested in a restaurant, it was just for obscenity. So I'm not sure the relationship between the two. Yes, the yippies.
And do you also believe in this idea of revolution, that there could be such a thing, or?
I believe that reading their literature from those days and being a person who was old enough to know, to experience, I was a teenager then, they believed that cultural revolution was possible. They may have believed that, some of them may have believed that armed revolution was possible. I know that some of the yippies respected the Black Panthers a great deal. And they respected the first generation of Americans, the revolutionary generation, a great deal. So, I don't think that there are many of us now that are looking for, well, at least we don't spend our time, it feels like a waste of time to create scenarios of revolutionary takeover, which I think in the 60s that was something you sort of did as a hobby.
It's a kind of utopia.
As a way of being drunk or something.
Yeah.
Now there's an aspect because there is so much more hopelessness, and because we are so much more marginalized. I think that there's a more practical aspect to what we're doing right now.
And also because capitalism
Almost
is
mechanical.
this much further along. You know, the machine of capitalism is,
Much more
advanced
adept at
40 years from then, and it's going so much faster than any small group of people could ever go. It seems to me. So the market is really, in some way, I mean, a revolution against what? The government or the market? What? Who? Where do you start? I don't know. There's no regulatory agency that has any authority over capitalism at this point, or capitalism itself has its own momentum. I don't know how you... We can only hope that it will play itself out in the most graceful way. I don't know.
Yes, it's play itself out in a way that is just somehow not violent, but it is. Right now, people are just, as we talk, our economic system is killing
In the
innocent
military,
people.
they have a saying called no decision momentum, which is when a number of things have proceeded. So the Army has gone to the front, and at the same time the Navy has moved here, and the generals, one of them is on vacation, one of them isn't, and there are so many circumstances already in motion that war will happen. And it's not because anyone said, let's have a war, it's because 5 things all happened at once. And I sort of feel that that's where we are in our cultural time, that there's all these forces that have so much momentum.
Like the globalized economy, for instance.
Yeah, or the environment, or I don't, the way taxation works. It's not even just the globalized economy. It's like the way that most of the money is no longer taxed. That there are offshore companies that where all the money goes, and it goes through there, and then the government doesn't participate anymore in that.
Just because there is this Cindy Sheehan.
Yes.
And she always says she wants to talk to George W. Bush directly. So that was just one inspiration. So I made a little doll of George W. Bush, like this. First I thought it could be also a voodoo doll, but now it's just a doll. And I just wanted to bring this, and so you have, and maybe you can use it now, or my question is also, if you would have George W. Bush here in your kitchen, what is it that you would be going to tell him? Or do with him, whatever.
George. Get out of Iraq now. Get everyone out of Iraq now that you put there. Because Jesus really was the Prince of Peace. How about you?
Oh. I wish it was George Bush that was the problem. I just don't think he's the problem. He's like a symptom. But I can't even look at him. I don't know if I can talk to him.
The American flag on his heart.
That's just not my America, you know. He's...
Well, okay.
I feel sad.
Yeah, it is. It's really sad. Really sad.
Well,
that it's come to this situation,
Yeah.
this man and this country and these people and
Keep thinking about the children who are having shrapnel sliced through their faces and they just don't have a chance to have a life.
yeah.
Well, let's meet again Sunday.
thank you so much for taking time. And
Oh, thank you for
Oh,
being
you're
with us.
welcome.
Thank you for showing your interest in our work. And Sunday you can meet the larger choir,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll
They're
have some new people
fabulous.
there. We'll have some people there for the first time.
It's fantastic.
Have we invited the Francisco and
I think James was gonna call.
Nasser?
I don't have their number, so I think it's up to.
Okay.